September 11, 2001, 19 men killed nearly 3,000 Americans. Here's the part that still haunts the intelligence community. We knew, not everything, but enough. The CIA had been tracking two of the hijackers, Khalid al-Midhar and Nafaf al-Hazmi, since Jan 2000. They watched them meet with Al-Qaeda operatives in Malaysia. They knew al-Midhar had a valid US visa. But here's what happened next. Those two men flew into LA. They got driver's licenses. They started taking flying lessons. They lived openly in San Diego for months, with Al-Azmi staying for over a year. And the FBI had no idea they were in the country. Why? Because the CIA's job was to track threats outside America. The FBI's job was to track threats inside America. And there was no system, no technology that connected the dots between them. The CIA had one piece of the puzzle, the FBI had another, the NSA had a third. But each agency kept its information logged in its own database, its own silo, its own language. After the attacks, the 9/11 Commission delivered a verdict that should terrify anyone who understands technology. The terrorists were in our country for 19 months. We had information that could have stopped them, but our agencies couldn't share it. 50 different filing cabinets, no one with all the keys. 3,000 miles away in Silicon Valley, a man named Peter Thiel was watching this unfold. And he had a strange thought. At PayPal, his company had built a fraud detection system called Igor, named after a Russian who kept trying to scam them. Igor could take 1 million transactions and find the patterns that humans would miss. It could connect a credit card in one country to an IP address in another, to a shipping address that didn't match. What if you could build Igor for terrorism? What if you could take every database the government had, fingerprints, phone records, flight manifests, financial transactions, surveillance footage, and make them talk to each other? In 2003, Peter Thiel, alongside Alex Karp, Nathan Gettings, Joe Lonsdale, and Stephen Cohen, founded a company to find out. He named it after the seeing stones from the Lord of the Rings, magical orbs that let you see through vast distances and uncover hidden truths. He called it Palantir. This is the technology that powers it. The first piece of technology is something Palantir calls the Ontology. It sounds academic. It's actually the most important idea in the entire system. Here's the problem it solves. In a normal database, John Smith is just text, 10 letters, a string of characters sitting in a cell. The computer doesn't know if John Smith is a person, a restaurant, or a law firm. It doesn't know if the John Smith in database A is the same as John Smith in database B. To the computer, they are just letters. Palantir's ontology flips this completely. In an ontology, John Smith isn't text. He's a thing, an entity, a role in a web of connections. This John Smith lives at 142 Oak Street. He works for XYZ Corporation. He called the phone number 14 times last month. He traveled to Berlin on March 3rd. He transferred money to the bank account. The computer doesn't just know his name, it knows his place in the world. Google calls this things, not strings. That phrase changes everything. A string is just text, a thing has a meaning, and a meaning is what lets you reason. Here's the entire architecture. Everything in Palantir is one of the two things: an entity, a noun, a person, a place, a company, an event, a phone number, a bank account, or a relationship, a verb, works at, called, transferred money to, traveled with, met. So you get structures like this. Suspect A called phone number registered to suspect B. Suspect B wired money to shell company purchased explosive precursor. In a normal database, these are 4 different tables in 4 different systems. You never see any connection. In an ontology, that's a chain, a path, a story. And that is what 9/11 Commission was asking for. Not more data, but a way to connect the data that already existed. But here's the problem. Building an ontology is useless if you can't figure out who's who. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine you're hunting a suspect named Mohammed Al-Rahman. In one database, he's listed as M. Rahman. In another, Mohammed Al-Rahman. 1 M, no hyphen. In a third database, his name is written in Arabic. In a fourth, someone misspelled it. A normal search would find one of these, maybe 2 if you're lucky. The other 3 invisible, the same person hiding in plain sight across your own systems. This second technology is called entity resolution. It's the ability to look at M. Rahman and Mohammed Al-Rahman and the Arabic script version and recognize these are all the same human beings. And it doesn't just match on name, it has to match on everything. Same date of birth, same person. Same phone number, definitely the same person. Similar address, worth investigating. overlapping associates, we're getting somewhere. Think about what this actually does. Before entity resolution, your terrorist has 5 separate files, 5 partial pictures. No one sees the whole. After entity resolution, those 5 files become one file, one complete picture. Every piece of intelligence you have ever collected about this person, no matter how it is spelled, no matter which database it lived in, it is now connected. This is the technology that was missing on 9/11. The CIA had a file on Al-Midhar. The FBI might had reports mentioning someone with a similar name, but there was no system that could look at both and say, hey, this is the same person and he's in San Diego right now. Entity resolution is that system. Now, here's where Palantir does something most softwares can't. The real world doesn't generate neat spreadsheets. It generates chaos. Phone records come in one format, bank transactions come in another, surveillance footage has no text at all, emails are unstructured, informant reports are written in handwriting that someone scans into a PDF. Most analytics software need clean, organized data. Palantir was built to eat messy data. This is data fusion. Palantir can connect to over 200 different data sources and it doesn't care what format they are in. Structured data like databases and spreadsheets, obviously, but also emails, PDFs, scanned documents, audio transcripts, images, video metadata, satellite imagery, radio communications, social media posts. It pulls all of this into one unified layer, converts it into entities and relationships, and adds it to the ontology. Let me give you an example. Say you're investigating a bombing. You have a fingerprint recovered from a bomb fragment, phone records from the area, a tip from an informant, handwritten Pashto, drone footage from the day before, bank transactions flagged as suspicious, 5 different data types, 5 different formats, 5 different systems. Palantir fuses them into one picture. The fingerprint connects to an identity. The identity connects to a phone number. The phone number connects to a location. The location appears in the drone footage. The bank transactions fund the purchase. This is what Palantir did in Afghanistan. In 2011, American soldiers were dying from IEDs at the rate of 1 every 36 hours. The military had data everywhere. Fingerprints, phone logs, tips, surveillance, but it was scattered across a dozen of systems. Palantir fused it together. Marine Major John Tulin wrote to the Pentagon, Palantir has performed outstandingly. Work that used to take days now took hours. Bomb makers who used to be invisible started getting caught. And now we get to the real part. Once you have an ontology, once every entity is connected to every other entity, you can do something that a spreadsheet can never do. You can traverse the graph. In a spreadsheet, you can only ask flat questions. Show me all transfers over $1 million. Show me all calls made on this date. Show me all people named Rahman. These are filter questions. You're looking at one table at a time. In a graph, you can ask chain questions. Show me everybody who received money from an account that was funded by a company that the suspect's brother-in-law controlled. That's a path through the graph. 4 hops, 4 connection, a question that would take weeks to answer manually if you could answer it at all. Here's why this matters. Criminals and terrorists don't operate in spreadsheets. They operate in networks. They use intermediaries, shell companies, cousins, front organizations. The whole point is to create distance between themselves and the act. Graph traversal collapses that distance. Let me give you a concrete example. Bernie Madoff ran the largest Ponzi scheme in history, $65 billion. For decades, investigators failed to act on warnings about how the money moved. Here's what a graph would show. Bernie Madoff transferred money to a shell company A. Shell company A owned by nominee director. Nominee director received calls from Madoff's accountant. Madoff's accountant authorized payments to Madoff's family members. In a spreadsheet, these are unrelated facts. In a graph, that's a triangle, a shape, a pattern that screams, these people are working together. Palantir turns investigation into geometry. It doesn't read data, it looks for shapes in data. And shapes are how you catch people who are trying very hard not to be caught. There's one more layer that most people miss. Palantir doesn't just track what is connected, it tracks when things happen. This is temporal analysis. Here's why it matters. Let's say you find a connection. Suspect A transferred money to suspect B. That's interesting. But is it evidence? Now let's add time. The money transferred 3 days after a phone call between them. The phone call happened 2 days after they met in person. The meeting happened 1 week before the attack. Suddenly the connection isn't just interesting, it's a sequence, a plan unfolding in time. Or flip it. The money was transferred 2 years after the attack. Now it looks like a coincidence, unrelated. The sequence is the signal. Palantir lets analysts scrub through time like a video, play it forward, play it backward, speed up, slow down. Show me everyone this suspect contacted in the 48 hours before the attack. Show me all the financial transactions in week after the meeting. Show me how this network grew over the last 6 months. Time turns the static picture into a story, and stories are how investigators build cases. So let's pull it all together. Palantir isn't one technology. It's 5 technologies working in tandem. The Ontology turns raw data into a map of the world. Things, not strings. Entity resolution figures out who's who. One person, no matter how many names. Data fusion pulls in everything. Structured, unstructured, messy, clean, and unifies it. Graph Traversal lets you ask questions that cross boundaries, following chains of connections that no spreadsheet could ever reveal. Temporal Analysis adds the dimension of time because the sequence is the signal. This is the technology that was missing on September 11th. The data existed, the intelligence existed. What didn't exist was a system that could connect the CIA's files to the FBI's files to the NSA's files and say, these 2 men are Al-Qaeda operatives and they are in San Diego right now. Palantir was built to make sure that that failure never happens again. Today, the same architecture that catches terrorists also catches financial criminals, tracks diseases, optimizes supply chains, manages military logistics. The technology doesn't care what problem you point it at. It connects the dots. And here's what fascinates me. With the rise of LLMs, this technology, which used to cost tens of millions of dollars and requires armies of engineers, is now becoming more affordable for almost any organization. And now you know how it works. Thanks for watching. So stories like this is why I love making videos. You start with one question, could data have prevented 9/11? And you end up understanding something fundamental about information and technology. So honest truth is I'm a geek and I love technology. I've been tinkering around with all my life. My latest project is a tool called Canvas, which helps go-to-market teams with handling their content, sales conversation, customer success, all within WhatsApp, Slack, or whatever tool you use. This is how we do our own content research and come up with all of these crazy scripts as well, just FYI. We are bootstrapped. This is how we love building, telling stories, making products, doing it our own way. If you like what we are doing, it'll mean the world to me if you can check out our website and see what we are doing, building. All right, see you next time.